My name is Phil, and I'm really excited to be here with Gladys, who runs product here at Aragorn. I have been kind of dreaming about making an integration video that covers benefit integration since basically my second week at Aragorn, because Gladys, you shared this file in our Slack channel, and it was like the awful format that has to be included to integrate with a benefits provider. And
Right.
I just thought it was such a cool representation of how we bake a bunch of knowledge into the connectors that's HR specific at Aragorn, and they kind of it to me it touches on that theme of there's nothing simple in HR, but also it shouldn't
Sure.
be as complicated as it is. So,
Yeah.
what is it about benefit integrations that's so goofy,
Yeah.
that you have to solve for?
Yeah. No, benefit vendor integrations are, I'd say, one of the most complex integrations that HR teams deal with, just because each vendor uses their own kind of proprietary EDI format.
Mhm.
So, for example, New York Life might say, have X amount of spaces, segment a data field this way, or they might say, okay, for if you want to include dependents in a file, they have to be appended columns. So you'd have employee first, last name, demographics, and then more appended columns for each dependent you have, versus other vendors will just say, it's just another segment section within the entire EDI segment of the employee. So every vendor has their own specifications and how their system would be able to ingest the data, and that's what makes it the most complex. Top of
Yeah,
that with the unique business logic that exists within each organization that
yeah.
exists. So yeah.
No, it's all again, and I did an integration video, so I did show like one of the file formats, and there's like four
Yeah.
asterisks and then like a number
Yes.
and then more, and it's just
Yes.
you wonder who came up with it. And
Yes.
it seems to me that kind of the magic of what you're doing with Integration Studio is you're just making sure that the connector just knows how to do that stuff without the user
Correct.
having to do it. But I'm sure there's more
Correct.
to it. So like as a head of product, how do you think about, okay, I need a tool that empowers HR, but I also need to solve complicated HR problems. Like, how do you approach that?
I think it's a combination of having that in-depth industry knowledge as well as a technical knowledge as well.
Hmm.
So we started out with the question of, and before that, whenever HR teams are building this complex integrations, they usually would look for consultants or IT. And then once they look for them, they have to kind of dump their HR knowledge to these people,
Hmm.
so these people can do it. So it was more of, okay, someone else has the skill, HR
Hmm.
folks has the knowledge. What if HR folks were technical? Can they build faster? Can they build more reliable and accurate integrations? If the
Hmm.
answer is yes, then it becomes, okay, how do we make either HR folks more technical,
Hmm.
or how do we remove this technical requirements from HR? And so
Yeah.
that was the kind of pivotal question that Aragorn asked itself, and we decided to go more of, instead of kind of taking HR folks through technical learnings and how to write code and how to read scripts,
Hmm.
what if we just took that requirement away and gave them knobs and clicks and tweaks in which they can just, mirror the knowledge they have in their head into the integration configurations.
No, yeah, and that was the experience too, because obviously I've never built an integration to a benefit provider, but I was making one this morning, and
Yeah.
my file errored the first time, but then just baked into the mapping is here are the codes you need to transform like employee
Yes.
status into, right? It's like
Yes.
FT for full time for this
Yes.
particular vendor. So,
Yes.
you know, that's something that
And
stood out to me. Oh yeah, go
and
ahead.
I
Yeah.
would I would say those kind of informations usually, when consultants are doing it, they build a whole blob of files to
Mhm.
document every single one of those. And so imagine that times 10 times however many vendors that
Right.
they're creating. Who keeps track of all those documents?
Uh-huh.
How, if we want to update it and maintain it, how do we make sure that we have that right document to pass on to the next consultant who's coming in
Right.
to make changes? And all of that is just made absolute or obsolete, is it? uh,
Obsolete. Obsolete.
Obsolete.
Yeah. Yes. It's
With the
absolutely
yeah,
obsolete. because I was able to
Exactly.
do it this morning, you know?
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that is that or is there another example of as you've been putting the integration studio part of the platform together, you know, is there something that to you just you feel like, okay, that's what we were setting out to do? Like, is there a particular feature or part of the user
Yeah.
experience that you just like, you know, absolutely love?
Yeah, I think there are multiple things that I love about the platform that we're building. One of which is giving HR folks or organizations as a whole the ability to create their own data ontology.
Mm,
So we allow them to give meaning to their data. And what I mean is an organization comes in with their data, the platform is flexible and adaptive enough for them to say, okay, what we deem as is active. These are the rules and configurations of what in our organization makes an employee active or makes an employee inactive. What we say eligibility date for an employee might be this and that and that. And that differs across organizations.
mhm.
But I feel like the normal way of doing things, it's hard for HR folks to kind of bring those meaning into their data whenever they're doing integrations because there's just no way for them to say, oh,
Mm,
internally we have this business rule and this is how we define things. So that's one of the biggest kind of feature I'm super proud of on our platform,
yeah.
is allowing whenever they bring their data in, allowing them to construct, what means what
Yeah.
in the HR
Yeah, kind of
sense.
this just like living, breathing dictionary of how we do
Exactly.
HR, so to speak. Yeah. And then
Exactly.
that's then mappable to everything else that they're
Exactly.
doing.
That
Yeah.
flows to everything else. That's correct. Yes.
That is awesome. That is
Yeah.
awesome. And to wrap, so what is one of the weirdest requirements or goofiest integrations you've seen
Integrations.
somebody bring that you had to deal with? Because again, there's nothing
Yeah.
simple in HR, you know, some
No,
days.
not
Like,
at all. So usually people would think an employee just has one employment. I work
okay.
for this organization, I'm an engineer, and that's it. There are some organizations in certain industries where an employee would have multiple work assignments. So they could be the cashier at this location, but another work location, they're doing something else.
Yeah.
And now the question becomes, okay, which one is their primary
Hmm.
work assignment? And so depending on the vendor in which they're integrating with, there's usually an attribute or a code or job code that determines, okay, for this vendor, we are
Hmm.
choosing the job that or the work assignment with this code to be their primary. Now, on
Yeah.
top of that, in the normal HR system, they have another employee kind of assigned as their manager. That's not always the case
Okay.
because
Yeah.
depending
Yeah.
depending on the work assignment that's chosen as the primary work assignment for that specific vendor, we need to choose which employee is actually the manager of that work location. And so you
Yeah.
have a lot of relationships going on to first find, okay, what is the work assignment that we are attaching to this employee to send to this vendor, but not only that, what employee is the manager of that work assignment, and therefore that indirectly flows to be for this particular vendor. We're going to say employee B is the manager of employee C. But it
Yeah.
wouldn't be the same if we were looking at another vendor. So these are some of
That's
the
yeah.
the complex webs of complexity that exists in HR
Yeah.
integrations.
Absolutely. And I hope, yeah, no, it's great. I mean, I hope that, you know, if you're watching this video, you get just a sense of what I love about Aragorn is that it's a team of people that are then focused on all of those wild HR problems, you know, and I
Correct.
hope that they
Yes.
know that you're out there building a product and thinking not just about, you know, the simplest use case, but thinking about like what really happens and learning from all of our
Absolutely.
customers and all of that. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. Hopefully folks are excited to know that you're out there doing this
Yes.
work and the platform
Absolutely.
speaks to it. So
Yes.
excellent. Cool. Thank you
Cool.
so much.